Liz Larson.
And I'm Bill McKenna.
And together, we created the Cogno Movement System. And we'd like to welcome you to the New Life Perspectives radio show,
where we're going to be sharing with you tools, tips, and ideas that are going to change your life.
Hello, hello in UK Health Radio Land. I'm Liz Larson, and I'm here with my friend,
Bill McKenna.
Hey, Bill McKenna. And we're the team that created the Cogno Movement System, but we're also the team here on the UK Health Radio Land Network that created the New Life Perspectives radio show. And today, I want to talk to you about something that we've been talking about behind the scenes, is how long people actually experience joy and how often people experience joy or happiness or peace or whatever you want to call that thing, but during the day or even throughout their life. And the statistics are pretty interesting. And the reality is even more interesting. But I kind of want to launch it by saying, I think that people who are happy all the time, joyful, seem like weirdos to a lot of other people. They really think it's nearly impossible to be relatively happy all the time. What do you think?
Well, I think you're right. And I think that actually what it does is it annoys certain people that someone is that happy. You know, it's kind of funny, but the term, right, which I kind of liked, is that having a ceiling of happiness. You know, when you start to think about it, we were talking yesterday or the day before about this ceiling, and one of the most obvious ways that it demonstrates itself is like everybody's having a good time, like a vacation, for example, and then somebody is just like, oh my God, Eeyore, whatever his name is, Eeyore, he shows up, and it's like a dampening. There's a dampening effect because neurologically, we as humans have only so much kind of happiness or joy that we can take. And we don't even know we're doing it, but we need to tamp it down to a level that's acceptable. So if it's all going off around us, right, then, oh yeah, I'm sick, I'm this, I'm that, I'm hurt, I'm emotionally hurt. You know what? I didn't get the rental car that we wanted, a Jeep, and now we're stuck in a Prius, and oh no, the trip is no good. I was really dreaming of this, and whatever. The interesting thing, I think, is in our family relationships when it shows up. This, for a lot of us, I think we can maybe relate to somebody in the family, and often it's a parent that's going to damp it down, right? A buzzkill, right? As we say in the United States, it's a buzzkill, right?
Yeah, but let's back up just a minute. You said something that's interesting. You said there's only so much happiness a person can take. And let's kind of start there, because there's something we know in the work with Cogno Movement that it reframes that just a little bit. So we were talking about how a person will get what they want, have the thing they want, create a miracle even, get the money, get the car, get the house, get the man. And they're happy for only a few seconds. Really, it's about 30 or 40 seconds, about the same time frame that guilt has a shelf life. And then we're on to being irritated and frustrated or sad or depressed or anxious all over again. And so what we know about that in cognitive movement is that really what you're saying is that your system can take is accurate. Most people's systems are not set up to actually have extended periods of just feeling good, feeling easy about life, where there's not a problem, just not having the experience, I guess, of having something running in the background that's trouble brewing, right? Yeah, I mean, so let's talk about that. Let's build the framework here for people about what are we actually talking about when we say feeling good, being happy, having joy. What does that even mean?
Well, gosh, that really positive feeling, right? There's been times in everybody's life, even if it's momentary, where you really feel good. Maybe you could almost feel an erectness to your spine. You feel kind of a lightness in your step. It's like, you know what? Nothing's really bothering me. Some people experience this when they go on vacation, right? Oh, hey, we're getting on the plane. We're going to, some tropical or ski resort, and it's going to be great. And I'm leaving all the cares and worries behind. And you know what? They can all just have it. And I'm free, right? Some people experience it when they have a windfall, like, oh my gosh, you won't even believe what happened. I had a windfall. So that's the type of thing, right? That we're talking about, but it's a feeling in your body.
Yeah, I think what I'm referring to even is something bigger than that a lot of cognitive movement people experience, people using cognitive movement experience, but don't necessarily know how to put their finger in. And I'm thinking about almost like neutrality. That sense of where I get what you're talking about, where there's an elation feeling. I'm talking about that sensation where there's just nothing really bothering you right now. It's okay to just move through the day and smile at people and call a friend and, have a chat and really enjoy that. And then maybe enjoy a meal and gosh, maybe notice how good the food is and the atmosphere, and maybe look forward to your spouse coming home. Oh, God forbid that one, right? Looking forward to spending the evening with your family, like just kind of dirt and through the day where it all just is like, okay, it's good. It's all right. You're all, everything's going to be all right. That thing,
Yeah.
I mean, there is that momentary elation, I think, of when you really get something, right?
Right.
Or even for some people being on vacation where there's a high involved. I think I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking about in general, kind of feeling pretty okay with yourself, because most of us don't have that. I'll tell just a tiny bit on myself. I've shared this many times, but my preset was frustration, just frustration. I would get ideas. I'm an ideas person, 1,000 a day. And I'd get a good idea, and then I'd be instantly frustrated that I did not have that idea 2 years ago, and that I'm not 4 years ahead on that project already. Immediately, my body, and this is the thing I think you and I are so adept at talking about because it's our work day and out. My body would literally get tension. I can remember it now. It'd be in the gut and in the throat. I felt clotheslined. Now, how ridiculous is that? I get an idea. Really, the idea is pretty exciting for about 40 seconds. And then I'm in, abject frustration. And this would happen to me day in and day out. I remember I traveled to Italy a lot, and it's my favorite place on the planet. And it's so beautiful. And I just feel at home, and my family's there. And I would have frustration running in the background about what I wasn't doing, about what needed to be done, about where I wasn't in life. I hadn't achieved the things. And maybe I would be future pacing, meaning imagining the future that maybe money things weren't going to be right. During that part of that time, I was running a big business, and I couldn't even let myself be happy or neutral. I'm going to say just neutral, where it was just okay to be where I was and enjoy that moment, because my body was in full frustration mode. I had that sensation of being clotheslined, but I couldn't actually put my finger on specifically what I was frustrated about, it, like on those trips. We talked about this yesterday. This is interesting, right?
Yeah.
Your body has a sensation of doom and gloom. It's probably happening, but you don't even know what specifically that's about. And I think probably 99.9% of us experience something sort of like that. What do you think?
I think so. I mean, when you look at the masses of humanity, right, there are few people who you run into that are just generally at that place of peace, of being present here, now, and at the same time enjoying now. They're in the future, in a fear, or in the past, in a resentment, in some way, shape, or form. Mostly, I think that people have some sort of either a worry or upset in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, it seems like your system, that's your set point. And that's why I say that was my preset. We talk about neurology, but my nervous system had that set point of this is normal. Being in a little bit, or a lot of frustration all the time, so that I could be aware of the next shoe to drop, for the next shoe to drop, the next pothole, the next thing that was going to cause pain in my life. I think my nervous system, I know that now because that's what we talk about all the time, but my nervous system was constantly on high alert, pulling the firearm alarms. So when it happened that at the point in cognitive movement, in my own personal development, where that was gone, the constant feeling of that was gone, it felt really weird. Really weird. In fact, I actually felt bored.
Isn't
really
that
bored.
Interesting?
Yeah.
Bored.
And I wanted to look for the frustration again. And then what I realized was it actually made me feel like I was doing something. Like I wasn't, but I mean, I'm a highly proactive person. I get a lot done. I do a lot of things, but I felt the frustration made me feel like I was doing something. I was getting things done. I was active. I was busy. So there comes this place when you're using cognitive movement and you're changing your neurological patterns where you get to neutrality. And it felt so strange to not have that, what felt like activity going on in my body. Isn't that a weird thing?
It is a weird thing. And, which really kind of makes you think, I'm obviously kind of harkening back to a early part of the conversation where you were saying, most people get the big problem resolved immediately, then jump to create another one or focus my attention on another one. Relief for a second. Then there's, but what about? But what is it? Right?
Yeah. Yeah. It makes me think about the old adage that people who win the lottery, most of them are broke again within 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're looking for, that preset, what it feels like to be broke. And then when you're not broke anymore, your system really has no idea what to do with that. You're constantly looking for a way to be broke again, but not consciously, not at all. But this worry, this fear, because your body knows that fear of being broke, being in poverty, being not having enough, struggling with the bills. It knows that, but it really doesn't know what to do with, I got it all. I'm safe. It's all good.
Yeah, it's a neurological set point. It has like the temperature, right? What they call, right, in aviation, you have your envelope of where you can operate. There is an upper speed, there is a lower speed that you need to maintain in a fixed wing aircraft in order for either the plane not to break apart or you to keep flying. That's the envelope of operation, right? And we have these envelopes in relationship. We have them in finances. We have them in our health, all of these things. So you'll find the people gravitating back to that set point. I talked with this one billionaire who helps other, what I would call deca millionaires. He helps them with business, and he helps them to sell their companies and, that sort of thing. And the conversation had come up with this billionaire who he wanted to send over one of these guys that had just sold their company. And it was their first time getting tens of millions of dollars. And the conversation, I said, listen, I'll work with this guy, but what you got to do for me is this. You've got to take those tens of millions and you've got to put it into an annuity of some kind, some investment where he cannot touch it. And that he gets his dividend check once a month or whatever, because the period of time right now is extremely risky. It's way beyond his set point, and he will blow the whole thing before I get him through his transition. Even though it's tens of millions, you're like, what do you mean tens of millions? I know you're thinking this, you're listening to this. This is craziness. But in the work we do, we've actually seen this happen. We've seen this happen, and that's why, I do what I do. So anyway, this exists whether it is having $1,000 in your bank account or 50 million. It's the same thing. And this, right, Liz?
Yeah, no, it's really, really true. So let's take our break, hear from the good folks at UK Health Radio Land, and when we return, let's talk about some of the reasons, because you're right. You see it again and again and again. And why? Why does it happen? So UK Health Radio, take it away.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
Okay, and we're back. We are talking about this weird phenomenon where people, even when they get exactly what they want, they're still unhappy, or they spiral out of control, or they go back so fast to what they think they didn't want that your head would spin. So we're talking about people getting, tens of millions of dollars and needing to not be able to touch it so they don't spiral. I know someone who can create a business so fast and create so much money so quickly that you can't believe it. But as soon as those large amounts start coming in, they spend it so fast and get themselves so upside down in debt that they're literally, their hair's on fire constantly, 24/7. Now, this is, probably 6 businesses in, and you think if they could just slow down and get their overhead handled, get their mind right around it, they would have been a millionaire many, many times over by now. And no matter how much help they get, no matter how many people are saying, look, you've got to get this spending under control. You've got to get an accountant that can help you do this. They literally blow all that off and then drive the business into the ground. And it goes down spectacularly in flames. And then they start another one, so good at bringing in money. But there's this funny set point. And from looking in, you'd think it would be so painful that you would never do that again. But it's how they actually thrive. I know people listening are probably like, God, that sounds terrible. But it is how they thrive. Their system is set up like that. So let's talk about some of the reasons. And I'll start with a quick one, and then you go next. One is that when you are an infant, what's the first thing that you're encouraged to do? Cry.
Cry.
The first thing is they want to, if you're not crying,
spanked on the butt.
If you show up and you're peaceful, they want to make you cry. That's the first thing they do. And that's a good thing. Everybody's like, oh, good, that baby has strong lungs. They're breathing. When you need something, you cry. You wail. You make sound in a way that sounds painful to the people listening. So they will feed you, change you, clothe you, right? It's built in from the minute we take our first breath on the planet. That's reason number one, Bill McKenna.
Oh my gosh, I have never thought about that, Liz. Think about that. It just never even occurred to me. Hey, welcome to the planet Earth. Smack.
Yep.
That is that don't make no sense.
Yeah.
I think back on the birth of my daughter. They didn't do that. Maybe I don't know if they still do it now, but certainly when I was born, hey, maybe that explains why I am the way I am. Maybe
it could be. No, but they do. You need the baby to cry for the lungs. You need the lungs to open and be full of air. They want this thing. But then what they do is soothe the baby. So you make a fuss, you cry, you have, an upset, and then you get soothed and back and forth. But it's predicated on that. And then as little kids, we learn, many of us, to fuss at our parents to get what we want, right? And then we get what we want and we're soothed, right? But we need to fuss. Come on, Mom, please, Mom. Mom, will you give me the thing? Will you give me the thing? Please, Mom, right? And then we're soothed. So it's kind of built in from how we interact with just this world in general. And then there are other things, other kinds of attention, right? I hurt myself.
Ah, yes.
I'm sick.
Yeah. There is a value in getting attention, right? When my wife, she works at a grammar school. And when one kid scrapes their finger or something, they get to come in and get a Band-Aid.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you got a Band-Aid. Now, the one who's legitimately hurt, right? They come out with a Band-Aid. And then there is a rush on kids getting hurt.
Because they need a Band-Aid.
Everybody's getting hurt, and they're showing up real blood, right?
Yeah.
Like, whoa, hey, what, we've got to run on Band-Aids. Now, you get treated special, you get cared about. I had this one, now this is how silly this is. I'll tell a story about this one multimillionaire. One multimillionaire, he came to me and he says, you know what? I am getting sick. I am getting, I get better and then I'm sick again. It's one thing after the next. And it's going on for several months. And I am exhausted. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. And it's just one sickness after the next. And we end up doing a cogno movement session, and you won't believe it. So everybody, around the globe is listening to this, right? You're listening to this and you're like, what do you mean cogno movement? What? Okay. So I'll just real quick explain it. The work that Liz and myself does, what we do is we use a person's neurology, meaning their brain, their spinal cord, their eyes, and we can locate an emotional or an issue literally through the eyes, or we can locate it through the body. We can see it, right? You may have an emotional issue, but we know how to find the issue. And the person during the process, for example, one technique, not all techniques, but just one cogno movement. Cogno movement's made up of hundreds and hundreds of techniques, but one technique is a position of the eyes. Now, every different position of your eyes is a different part of your brain, right? There's things that are hidden, stored in there. Well, during the session with this multimillionaire, why are you so sick all the time now? Turns out it's his girlfriend. When he gets sick, his girlfriend, he says, I feel so close to her. I have never in my life as a child or an adult been loved the way that she loves me. When I'm sick, she will wait on me hand and foot, and she cares for me so deeply. It makes me feel bonded with her. And I feel, he said, I feel love like I've never felt before. Now, why wouldn't you get sick? Why would you get better? If you're feeling so loved, why would you?
It wasn't logical in his mind. The kid had no idea that's why.
No idea. And once he realized it, he was like, and we cleared it. And that's what you do, right? You clear it out. And we have a method of cogno movement to clear that. But even when he just realized it, he was going, oh my God, this is the bunch of malarkey. This is so not, I don't need that.
Right.
I can be cared for. I can feel love, right?
Well, I think there were a couple things about that session, and this is one of the things that I think comes out of it, is that in his case, he realized, oh my gosh, my body's doing this thing. I keep getting sick so I can have the lollipop of my girlfriend. But also, he realized that he had this amazing human that really was providing so much love and nurturing to him in general, that now he really can appreciate that and have it all the time.
Exactly.
Have that love, realize that that's what he really has, and appreciate it and be in it more often. So there's some other real base reasons why being at least in a state of neutrality where everything's cool. I mean, I know that most people listening can't even imagine happy all the time. They would think that's weird. But just at neutral, everything's cool, is religion and society. And the reason I put them together is, at least here in the States, a lot of people grow up in just Christianity or Judaism. And there is this guilt, like, you're a sinner. You're not supposed to be happy. This place is bad news.
Oh, yeah.
You don't get to go around, dancing a jig. You need to be suffering. I remember this story from the Bible. It stuck out in my mind so much, and I could picture it like I was there. And it was one of the apostles had done something, and they were so ashamed. It had to do with wanting something. I think it was the attention of Jesus, if I remember correctly. And he laid on his face on the floor, and they called it prostrating himself on the floor in just abject shame for wanting whatever it was he wanted. So when you're a kid and you hear those stories, even if you're not listening closely, that stuff gets stuck in your head.
Ah, yes.
Are you offending God if you happen to enjoy your life?
Ah, yeah, right. Love, when I was growing up, love is for other people, not yourself, right? And
Yeah. That's ego.
you're some sort of, you love yourself? You want to catch a beating? That's right?
You better not think too highly of yourself.
Oh, no.
That's bad.
Yeah,
that's pride. That's bad.
Yeah, right.
Right.
So what happens is this gets stuck as kind of a set point in your nervous system. I kind of talked about this, right? And like that billionaire helping the millionaire, is that there's a phonetic type of energy. It's like it's the lottery winner, like, and because that is literally, you can feel it in your body. So much more subtly it happens in relationship like that. It just happens so subtly and you don't even think about it. And it seems so natural. Like, why am I so, things are going really well. It's a holiday, right? It's a holiday. Well, guess what? It's not going to be, I'm going to I'm going to voice my concerns here. I'm going to be heard, in some way, shape, or form. How many people, they are like, I ain't going to Thanksgiving anymore, or I ain't going to Christmas, or I ain't going to Hanukkah anymore on account of, because it's on. Why? Somebody there, right, has a feeling, right? And it's involuntary. You know what? A lot of us think that they're planning it, but really it just is a feeling that comes up and then it gets expressed.
It's a neurological driver. Yeah, that's true. Hey, let's take our break in here from the folks at UK Health Radio. And we come back, we'll talk about some more of these drivers, because I think this is important for people to recognize the things that actually, I hate this word, but kind of trigger that righteous depression or righteous unhappiness.
Oh, yeah.
We'll hear from the UK Health Radio, and we'll be right back.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
How do you like that term, Bill McKenna? Righteous
unhappiness. I love that one. And here's we'll probably get some phone calls on this one right here, but I'm going to say it anyway. Now, how many of you, right? There are certain cultures around the world that have, it's more than just within the person, right? It'll develop within a culture.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? We are downtrodden. We enjoy our suffering. Like, Russia, right? Have you ever, when you think of, and, the Russians, right? They are hardy. And, there is a endurance of hardship. We live in a hard environment and we are tough. We are tough. And there's a pride in being able to handle pain and being tough. But you never really think of like, it's those happy Russians. It's those the Russians are having right? They're having such a good time today. But if you want work and hard toil and somebody who can endure hardship, get yourself a Russian. But you know what I'm saying?
No, I do. Yeah, you're right. There are cultures that really do pride themselves on the hardship that they've endured and how much that has bolstered them or strengthened them or made them tough. I have another one that people are going to want to punch me right in the face for. And it's this righteous depression or righteous unhappiness from being a spiritually sensitive human. So let me frame this one out, because I know somebody just went, what? So in, the kind of people that we're around a lot and that I've been in for, the last 15 or 20 years, you have people who are sensitive psychically, physically, spiritually, in some ways. And they will be constantly, I feel the energy, it's overwhelming me. I feel the energy, it's giving me a headache. Ooh, the energy's bad today. You rarely hear them say, wow, ooh, the energy's bright and shiny today. Oh, I feel the energy rising and lifting. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah. There's a pride and a celebration of, it's very perverted celebration of, or the evidence of, licks, I'm psychic and I suffer. I can endure this suffering. No one can take this except for somebody like me. You have no idea.
Yeah, this is one of the things that I try to be a champion for amongst our group, because we have some highly, highly sensitive people and it is psychic and intuitive in our group, but they'll come in and initially say, I'm an empath. So I feel everyone else's energy. And I believe it. It's not a fake in any way, but they are put upon by everyone else's energy. So I fight like hell to change that conversation, to turn it into a superpower, and to teach them how to utilize that. Yeah, as a superpower. But what happens is, I think that initially people get a lot of validation. Ooh, I'm feeling the energy and it's negative here. And oh, it's giving me a headache. And it's that damn thing we learned from religion. I don't want to have big ego in telling you, I feel the energy here and I can perceive what's happening. I need to tell you in a way that is, ooh, I'm suffering about it. So I don't look like a big shot to you. So the people that I encounter, I'm pretty bold about it now. Let's flip the switch on that. Why is the energy that you always perceive negative? And the minute they realize they're doing it and they switch it, guess what? The energy is not negative all the time. The energy is not overwhelming them. It's not giving them the headache. They are like, oh, gosh, there's a vortex here. I just felt the change in my body. Interesting. Oh, gosh, I feel the energy actually rising here. This is an interesting thing, right? So it's the switch out of, I like my new phraseology, Bill, righteous depression or righteous downtroddeness, righteous unhappiness.
Right. So
what do people need to know about this? The opposite.
Well,
how can it be changed?
Well, here's very interesting. That all it is a neurological pattern. Mm-hmm. Literally, the thing to know about this is that there is a firing that goes on in my neurology. There's a feeling that is generated in the body, and then I think thoughts equal to it, and I will act equal to it. I will say equal to it. So you might find that it feels absolutely, positively, physically justified, whatever it is. I mean, literally, you know what? No, I'm right. I am 100% right in this. And the reason that you feel right in it is because you have a feeling in your body. Imagine for 1 second that you didn't have the feeling in your body anymore. Literally, you just didn't feel it. What happens is, with the absence of that feeling, you don't think that thought and you don't say and act that way. And this is a strange thing about cogno movement, is that there is physical exercise that you can do which eliminate it.
Well, before we really get into that part of it, let's talk about what it is that we're talking about. So on the opposite side, I had someone say to me recently, one of our practitioners in training, Liz, I don't know if this is weird or not, but, I used to be constantly watching the news, all the problems that were going around in the world. And they said, the more I've shifted the negative patterns out of my body, the ones that they didn't want. I mean, we don't direct that in any way. He said, I'm just not interested in the news anymore. I said, oh, that's interesting. Why do you think that is? He said, well, I just don't feel like it relates to me anymore. I just don't feel like those problems, they're really not mine. I know I'll navigate around that. And then my thoughts go to some creative thing that I want to do. And that's the it that we're talking about, right? That's what becomes possible when the body feels different, right?
Hey, you know what? The way that man put that, isn't that interesting? If you listen carefully to the words that gentleman said, I don't feel like it relates to me anymore. If you think back on your life, for all of us, we've had situations going on around us that are horribly negative, and you're like, that doesn't really relate to me. I mean, I'm going to go have a burger. I know you got a thing going there, but I don't, all right, good luck with that.
Yeah.
But there are other things, right, that very much, even though you look at it, right, does it really relate to you? Are you just using that to validate a feeling inside of you?
Yeah. Okay. So think about this. There's, we had a president that for some people, they think we're very unpopular. We're past that by multiple years now, but you have still people that are picking at that scab. They're still angry, and they'll keep going back to the conversation. Literally, it's like, you shouldn't pick the scab, but you do anyway. It's like the anger or frustration or outrage has a shelf life. Remember, I was telling you this story on myself. I tell myself all the time. I recognized at some point that, when you're married, your spouse irritates you sometimes, especially if you're a wife. My husband is lovely, but he'd do some little thing and I'd be annoyed. And then my annoyance would have a shelf life, of a couple days, usually, right? Until my body was no longer a match to that sensation. And I really won't tolerate it anymore. I just don't. It's not a match anymore. It doesn't work. I don't want to pick that scab. Or if my husband does something that irritates me, and then very quickly I'm like, okay, we're past that and we're on having a good time again, right? Where before, like you were saying, I was 100% justified in being annoyed for a specific period of time. Like if you're gossiping about somebody, you all get together and you pick that scab and gossip, right? But there becomes a point, this is the it that you and I are talking about, where that doesn't really feel good anymore. And what feels good is to maybe talk about an idea or go on about, dinner and enjoying yourselves and laughing about something maybe on YouTube, or right where that actually feels more like who you are. That's the shift that we're talking about. That's what becomes available when the preset is now, hey, cool.
Yeah, right. You made a really great comment there that, I want to now talk about an idea, because if you find that you're talking about a person, right? Yeah, they do this, and maybe it's related directly to you. Like, you do this to me, I did that, it's unjustified. I'm not getting my fair share. Whatever it might be, right? Or talking about another person Like, that person was blah, 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 blah. And they did that and you did that. That's the lowest form of basically consciousness. With that, you are not going to feel good. And if you notice that when you start elevating, you will start to talk about ideas, concepts, right? Other things that are going to be really much broader and more interesting. Well, and when I say interesting, I mean, maybe it's just interesting to us. At a certain point in my life, gossip was terribly interesting. I used to spend every morning with one of my siblings. We'd have our morning call of just talking smack every morning about people. And you know what? That was attractive. So different things, my energy, my feeling in my body it was like eating something good or getting some juice, out of life. This
how you relate, right?
Yeah. But eventually, no longer with that feeling, nothing can be fed with that. It bores me. I get so bored. I literally can barely pay attention because I'm like, oh, that is so boring. I can't focus. My focus starts to wane and I want to focus. I want to engage, but I get bored. I like, oh, what?
But you know what it is, Bill McKenna? There's no hook for that I anymore. It used to be that was the thing. You said it created juice. Like it was your fun.
It's
and
fun.
How you related with those same people. Like we're in the club that hates that guy and we're going to trash talk him and really enjoy ourselves. Yeah. So you have a hook for that I, right? You're signed up for that program. But when that is no longer the way your system runs, and this is what I'm talking about. This is not a mind reset or preset. This is your body just doesn't have a hook for that I anymore. It's like, wait a minute, why are we talking about that? Because you realize it gets you nowhere. There's nowhere to go. And your body really drives you then to find something that's like forward moving, that creates energy. So we have had so much fun with this conversation that we are actually out of time. However, we do have a few minutes of extended conversation. If you look for hashtag wellbeing podcast or anywhere that you like to listen to podcasts, look for the UK Health Radio Network and New Life Perspectives Radio. And we'll continue this conversation and give you a couple of tools for how to recognize when you're in that state of righteous depression or righteous unhappiness and how to shift out of it, what that would mean. But we'll also, we'll get a little weird in the second outside conversation. So everybody in the UK Health Radio Land, if you want to know more about Bill and I, go to cognomovement.com. And if you want to fast track getting out of this righteous depression, I'm so proud of my new verbiage. Go to cognomovement.com/cogno-conscious. cognomovement.com/cogno-conscious for a way to rapidly make that change. All right, we're in our extended conversation about, that your ability to feel joy and happy, or at least like, hey, this is cool, what I call neutrality, or the inability to be in that state where your body is constantly looking for the next problem or the next hit of sadness, depression, anxiety, fear. Let's talk about what are some of the weirdest shifts you've seen when somebody shifts out of that state, and it happens pretty quickly. What's some of the weirdest things you've seen?
My gosh, some of the weird things when this happens, it's really kind of crazy. It's to the extent, I should say, there's levels of this, and to the extent that they really exit that old feeling. For some of them, it can be as simple as I no longer maybe have this feeling, and maybe it was directed at someone, and this relationship is estranged. And then all of a sudden, what happens is, I got a new best friend forever, BFF, right? And that they call up and they're like, hey, what's up? And they act as if nothing ever happened, like no time passed and nothing ever happened.
Yeah.
I literally, one story was there was two siblings that were estranged, and after the work was done, literally, it was about 3 days later. This is happening like even faster now. It happens like immediately, like the phone rings inside the session, But in this particular case, it was 3 days later, and the one sister that was estranged that wouldn't talk to the other one called up and started talking. It's like, about the Bachelorette, like before the incident where they became estranged for years. And I'm talking about 5 years of estrangement. The phone rings and it's her, and it was like no time passed. And she was talking about the Bachelorette. Oh, did you see that Bachelorette this week? What do you think of that dress? Come on now. Really? That, or whatever, but it was just like that, like no time passed. And it was amazing.
Like history was rewritten.
Yes.
I believe, and this is where we get weird, that we literally are changing timelines with this. We have seen it where, for example, in our shift network class that we're in right now, we're only in week 3 and people are working on some of these lower level feelings, guilt, shame, blame. And the second weekend after guilt, this person said there had been a friend, they were estranged, there was some weird awkwardness going on. And right after they did the session, that person called them up and it was all gone. Like nothing had ever happened, exactly like you're saying. And they said it was like having whiplash. They couldn't believe it. The energy between them had changed. It was like they're at the beginning of their friendship again. Another way I think to say this is that when you no longer have that, you're holding that pattern of your righteous indignation, pain or fear or depression, that person is also freed from it. It's like there's a block between you and them, solid, like a brick wall, where that energy just cannot flow. It can't move. And clearing that out of your system removes the wall. All of a sudden, there's this clear communication, and it makes the most sense to them to pick up the phone and call, like no big deal. Like years have not passed since we haven't talked. There was no problem between us. It really is a miracle. And it feels like we just took a left turn into another dimension. Only you and I see it so often now that it's commonplace. It doesn't even seem weird or strange. I mean, we still are like, wow, that's cool. But now we almost expect it. Right?
Right. Yeah, it's commonplace, never would have thought, many, many years ago when we started this work, that was going to be just ordinary course of business. But, it's now it happens, and we're not freaked out by it anymore,
Yeah, in fact, it happens in manifesting quite a bit. And I didn't really think about this until right this minute, that we will be frustrated with something. Even you and I in our business and Leah, our business manager, something isn't going our way. And then we'll go in, all of us agree, we'll do what we call doing the ball. We actually do a little cogno session, and it's just to rewrite how we're feeling about the thing, because we know our physical bodies are coming up against what feels like an impossibility, a brick wall, right? For me, that's what it feels like. It always feels like a lot of tension and a push, and I'm frustrated. It's not going to work out like I want. And then we just address that sensation, because we know that that's a hook for an eye that we no longer want to have. So we'll get together and we'll do a session individually or sometimes together. And then all of a sudden that thing changes in our favor in a way that a lot of times we couldn't even imagine that it would be that good, right? The world opens up when we're no longer a match to the thing that we perceive as negative for us. It's pretty incredible.
It really is. It really is. Yeah. We certainly have enjoyed that.
Well, yeah. I mean, and it feels like having a magic wand. It feels like being in control of reality. And I know some of you out there who have never experienced that feel like, these people are full of it. But we see it every day. It's pretty commonplace now. And all it really is the shift in your neurology's attention. So is your nervous system focused on fear, anger, blame, pain, guilt? And I say your nervous system, which drives your thoughts, because that's what it is. Remember I said when you're born, before you're born, the nervous system, that's what it's built for, is to keep us safe and alive. So it looks for problems. But when your nervous system shifts and knows, hey, pretty much everything is cool, I can focus my attention on something actually lovely or wonderful. That's just what happens. You start to see everything that's really pretty cool. And the people that match this new state of energy, that want to talk about ideas and cool stuff, right? That want to enjoy life, that want to have fun, that want to really be happy. So let's give everybody just a tiny little tool about noticing the tension in the body and really easily being able to release it, just to try it on. You want to do that?
Yeah.
All right. So let's have everybody, will you walk everybody through how to notice tension in their body?
Yeah. All right. So here's a really simple technique, right? Let's just say all of us, you've got a situation in your life. Everybody's got one, the biggest problem in your life. And just notice, where do I have tension in my body? Where is that? Where specifically is that? And with that, interestingly enough, underlying it is your nervous system, your electrical system.
Well, what do you mean by tension, Bill McKenna?
So you're going to have a sensation. It's going to be a sensation somewhere in your body, an experience. It could be, my little finger has a sensation in it. I feel a tightness in my chest, or a pit, something in the pit of my stomach, a stabbing feeling. My neck is stiff. My shoulders feel like I sure could use a massage. Anything like that. So underlying this is your actual electrical system that is causing this. And underlying that is some subliminal thought or feeling. And underlying that is an energy. So what we're going to do is just imagine for a second you're just going to relax that. That's it. Just allowing this to relax this area. And as you do, just noticing, and you can even just ask or observe. I know that's another good way of putting it. Observe it relaxing. Observe the energy relaxing. Observe the nervous system relaxing. Observe the physical body relaxing. And what you'll notice here is if you continue this process, it will move. Literally, the tension will move to a different part of the body and out. And with that, you may find a perspective shift as well.
So the next layer of that is allow yourself to feel that tension. I like to say it almost feels like a tug of war somewhere in your body. And notice it, be aware of it. The noticing it a lot of times will collapse it like, geez, I'm feeling tension in my body. The next thing you can do is take a big deep breath in through the nose, and kind of drop down into the tension. I know that sounds weird, but actually let it be there as much as it is for now. Drop down into it. And as you do that, actively let the tension flow out at the same time. So it's a breathe in. And something that really helps if you're seated in a chair is to kind of just rock your pelvis forward and let your ribs drop down. So kind of that, not your shoulders, but your ribs. Rock yourself forward and let your ribs drop down. You can even do that rocking sensation, and it moves the spine. You're moving the spine, you're massaging the spine a bit. And it's also, if you move into a fetal position, that soothes. So you just take a big deep breath in, be aware of that tension in the body, really let it be there, and kind of on an out breath, rock yourself forward and let it breathe out. You will notice that shifts and changes. And the more you do it, the more your body gets the signal, oh, we don't really need to feel that way. We're safe. All right, you guys. We've really run out of time for good this time on this segment. We could talk for years on this because it's so exciting that you really can change your preset around your body. So any last thoughts before we go, Bill?
www.cognimovement.com. Come on down and get your 2 free ebooks. There we go. Thanks, Liz.
Yeah. All right.